Okay.
The meeting is now live.
Welcome to everybody. And what I want to first start out with is to see if the agenda is okay, if anyone has anything they need to add to the agenda. Seeing no one. I have one thing I'm going to add on there. I'm going to give an update about under the Greenway committees. I'm going to add an update there. So why don't we first have everybody, let's go through a roll call. And I'm going to do it alphabetically. So Elida, you are first. Just tell us a little bit about yourself. And welcome.
Thank you. I'm used to being last, with W being last.
Well, I'm going by first names.
Well, thanks. I'm very happy to be part of this committee. I was brought to it through a poetry project that Chris Joyelle actually helped me a couple of years ago. We finally got it up. So I'm hoping that I can be helpful in maybe connecting with the poetry community in Asheville. I'm also a life educator, so would like to connect Greenways to educational opportunities. So I'm a retired teacher, school principal, and happy to be involved. I don't have any technical skills, engineering or planning. I just am interested in person, and I walk a whole lot of Greenways.
And you have connections with the community.
I have. I'm pretty well connected in the community, and I'm involved in a couple. I've been very active at the YWCA. I work with Horse Sense in the Carolinas. So try to children first, communities and schools. So try to do my part.
Yes. And let's see, Chris is an auxiliary member. Where are you, Chris?
Hi there.
Okay.
Well, yeah, it's Chris Joyelle with Mountain True, and specifically with the Asheville Design Center program of Mountain True, and worked on a number of projects along our greenways, and worked closely with Lucy on a number of projects. So happy to be here. Happy New Year, everyone. I can still say that.
Glad to have you. Dennis.
Hey everyone, Dennis Wenzel. I've been a member for about 6 months. I'm also a member on the MMTC, and I am an active consumer of our Greenway.
Great. Welcome. Kenny.
Hey, same with Dennis. I'm on the MMTC as well. I lived in Asheville 10 years now. I'm a transportation planner with a firm in Waynesville, so we don't do a lot of work in Asheville. We're trying to get bike lanes and greenways and sidewalks in smaller rural towns around North Carolina, but I love the ones here in town. I use them all the time. We've got 2 small children, so I'm here because I'm passionate about everything Greenway. My background is in art too, so I really appreciate the poetry and the big fish sculptures and everything that goes along with that.
Great. Kristen.
Hi, I'm Kristen Earhart, and I teach English as a second language at AP Tech and to adult students. And I teach a writing class, and I teach academic track, which is transitioning to college, and I love it. And I also have a background in art, and I am a ceramicist. But maybe I'll become a professional someday. Echoing what others have said, just the incorporating education on greenways, and, poetry, and all of that stuff, and then widening access to like feedback through getting more people involved with surveys, like we were just talking about. So welcome to our new members of the committee.
Okay. And Lydia.
Hi, I'm Lydia Viewer. I am a licensed professional engineer with background in roadway, and I've done design on greenways. I'm a pretty avid greenway biking, walking user, so that's why I'm here. I'm also on the multimodal transportation commission for the city as well. So that is about me.
Great. And Mike Sewell, who is an auxiliary member as well.
That's right, I'm an auxiliary member. I am the executive director of Asheville on Bikes.
Okay. Renee.
Hi, my name is Renee Fortner, and I am the Watershed Resources Manager at Riverlink, a local environmental nonprofit. And I oversee our water quality related projects, as well as an outreach program we have that's called Name That Creek. And that program, the goal is to work with communities to give unnamed streams a name that has some sort of important significance in order to foster a connection between our residents and our streams with the hopes that we can encourage better stewardship of our waterways. And I also love greenways. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for coming. Richie.
Hey everybody, and welcome to our new members. Glad to have you, especially people so dedicated and interested in greenways. I'm Richie Rozelle. My day job is with the Flying Bike, which is an e-bike rental and tour company located on Cox Avenue in the South Slope. And I am also, I think since the time of our last meeting, I'm now the vice president of Blue Ridge Bicycle Club, and I'm the vice president of Bike Walk NC, your statewide bicycle advocacy group that works at the state level in Raleigh to change safety laws and pedestrian safety laws. And then I am also just an avid user with my family. I live in West Asheville, and we use the Greenway on I would say multiple times a day basis.
Great. And I guess that's everybody except myself. I'm Claudia Nix, the chair, and I am a co-owner of Liberty Bicycles, which we are in our 40th year of business. And yeah, 40. And I've been an avid promoter of bicycling for over 40 years. I'd say it's been 45 years. No, 48. So just advocating every kind of time I get a chance. And I am so excited to see the new greenways popping up. It's just wonderful to finally see stuff getting done after all these years. So I'm tickled. And I do use the greenways too. So let's start our meeting. First of all, we have minutes from the last meeting. Has everyone had a chance to read those minutes? Can we approve them? I need a motion to approve them. Anyone want to move?
I'll move to approve them.
Okay, Sunny. Oh, Sunny, I didn't give you a chance to talk.
Oh, well, I'm Sunny Carr. I've been on the Greenway Committee for about 4 years. My day job is a residential appraiser here in Nashville.
Please.
I'll second Sunny's movement.
Welcome. And you're vice chair. So do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Richie, thank you. All right, so we're going to start with our staff updates with Lucy. She's got a bunch of stuff to present to us. Are you there, Lucy?
Yeah, here I am. And,
okay.
Here is can everyone see? I think I'm still sharing. Is that correct? Do you see this?
No.
Okay. We are looking at this spreadsheet that we usually see every month which is the same one that we share with the MMTC meeting. I just updated the Greenway oriented. The big news is that the French Broad River Greenway West is out to bid. It will be open for bid until January 28th at 3 p.m. And I feel hopeful and confident that we will find a contractor that will work with us to build this. And I would guess that it will probably be sometime in March would be the soonest date that we would see someone who is under contract to work with us. In the meantime, the city of Asheville will be closing that section. We'll be posting signs sometime in the next week or so, letting people know that it will be closed for camping and also to ride your bike or run through. You'll know when we're really ready for construction, when the fencing goes up at both access points of this section of the Greenway. There are a number of homeless camps in the area, as we've talked about in previous meetings, so the city will be spending extra time helping those people leave the premises and help them if they are interested in finding other services that can help them through the homeless office of the city and through various nonprofits. The other thing that's moving these days is the Nasty Branch Greenway. We're finishing up the last details to be able to put that out to bid as soon as possible. I'm hoping that we will be able to put that out to bid probably in March. So we'll be seeing construction in late spring or early summer for the Nasty Branch Greenway. Bowcatcher Greenway, we're still looking at the idea of using a modified version of the Greenway plans that were finalized in 2017, hoping to be able to build the sections that keep the with the money that we have set aside for the Bowcatcher. The Greenway connectors are still being engineered. Goal is to start building those in the summertime. It is not 100% clear if the money will be made available to us at that time by the DOT, so we'll hope that by then they'll have the money ready for us to use. The neighborhood Greenway connectors, if you remember last meeting, we have two new proposed projects. One is in the Hawk Creek neighborhood off of Arco Road, and the other is in West Asheville by the old armory. That we are getting our cost estimates and game plan down for those projects. Hopefully we'll be able to take that to council for their approval sometime in February, and we'll be putting that into the capital projects timeline. So I don't know when exactly we would be constructing these if council gives us approval to move forward on them, but I just, at this time, I'll let you know as soon as those steps are made, that capital projects department is able to tell me when they'll be able to fit it into their workload. And the last thing that's really moving is the Swannanoa River Greenway section that we will be building with the transportation bond funds. That section is about a mile long, and it starts at Thompson Street and it will end at the bridge at Bleachery Road in Swannanoa. We're just finishing up some geotech and surveying and starting to approach property owners about easements. We really won't be doing land acquisition until later, until like we're at least 60% phase of the design, but we are doing engagement with the people who will be impacted by the Greenway on their property. And then the last thing is the North Rad Tip project. That is that 1 mile section from Hill Street to Broadway. We have a $300,000 grant with the DOT to do the engineering and design for that section. It's one of those projects that's frozen right now due to funding, but the MPO is working really hard at getting that money released so that the timing is right, that we would have those designs either before or during the phase that the DOT is working on, the Riverside Drive designs. If anyone has any questions about what I just said, let me know and I can clarify more. Sunny?
I have one thing to say, Lucy.
Yes,
Amy. Can Claudia turn down her volume? We're getting a little bit of feedback.
Sunny?
On your spreadsheet was Bacote Branch, but you didn't mention it, and to me that was the most exciting one. It said I hadn't heard that it had funding. So what's up with that?
It doesn't. It does not have funding. It's on that list because we should take it off because it doesn't have any funding to build that greenway.
Okay.
At this time. We, just as a side note, Asheville Unpaved Alliance, our partners that we've been working with, we're considering taking a look at that area, especially since it's right next to the middle school that has such an awesome after-school program for bicycle safety. It would make sense to put a natural surface trail facility back there, but we haven't done any public engagement with that, and I haven't done any inquiries within the city hall to see if we would be able to explore that notion yet, but it is something that we're all kind of excited about doing if it can work out. So as you can see, Mike really loves that idea too. So we'll hopefully in the coming months, we'll be able to talk more about that. Sorry to let you down. It's just always on there, frozen, sad. Any other questions?
I was wondering which organizations will be working with the homeless population on the French Broad River West.
None at this time, because we have the contracts that we have with the homeless organizations that work with us are completely maxed out right now, and they don't have any ability to work with us this hot minute. So our first steps will be with the Asheville Police Department to let them know. And we're starting very soon, so they'll have more than a month's notice that they'll need to leave the premises.
And then they'll get referred to like other like shelters or organizations at the time, or are there?
Yeah, we've been down there before. Well, about probably right before you got onto the committee, Kristen, we thought that we were going to be building the French Broad River West sooner, and we worked with I hope I'm going to say the right organization, but I think it was Homeward Bound, gave with a 60-day notice, and the people who are there were informed of the services that are provided to them. We'll be providing those same services to and information on how to reach into the camps that are there now. And yeah.
But you were also saying, well, obviously with COVID, that homeless.
Right. We haven't been pushing the idea that we're wanting people to no longer camp there. When a year ago, we were saying we are not allowing camping on this property any longer. And in fact, we have a lease with Duke Energy that explicitly says that we should not have things like camping on that property. So we were trying very hard to keep the camping at bay, but because of COVID, we stopped doing that because ethically the city believes that we should not be trying to displace anyone. But because at this time it will become a construction area, we're going to need to ask people to leave. And it will take us a while to clean up. We need to hire a special environmental cleanup crew to be able to clean up the human waste and the drug paraphernalia that's down there now. And it will take a good month to be able to prepare just for our contractors to be able to go in and work.
Hey, Lucy, once we do get the point where it is safe for people to go in and work and we get rid of the hazardous materials, what's are we phasing this through, or do you think it's going to be just kind of one shot, we're going to build and be ready to roll? What's the thought that way?
Yeah, well, so they're going to time their schedule, and I'll know more once we do know who we'll be working with, but they'll have to time their work so that they don't need asphalt until the asphalt companies are working. However, I don't even foresee that being a delay with the timeline that we're working with now. But the intent will be to start and not stop until it's completely finished.
Okay, great, thank you.
And just as a side note, for those of you who don't know, we'll be paving that little dirt section that's underneath Amboy Road that connects the French Broad River Park to the rest of the park heading towards Carrier Park with this project too. So we'll have a continuous paved 10-foot wide greenway from Craven Street to the Hominy Creek River Park. And I believe that's close to 3 miles of continuous greenway.
Lucy, I know really early plans for the RAD improvements had, I think it was a pedestrian bridge going over the French Broad River somewhere between Amboy and Haywood. Is that still in anybody's game plan or
yeah,
not?
that bridge was in the very early stages, and they realized it just wasn't feasible. It was before I started working here, so I don't know the details of why it got dropped, but we're in discussions with the DOT about improvements to the Craven Street Bridge, the Smith Mill Bridge it's called technically. There is money in the DOT's TIP for that particular project. It's been there for a number of years. It's not enough money to design and build a bridge, and the city does not have any money to be able to add to it at this time. But the DOT acknowledges that it's a bridge that needs to be improved with better pedestrian and bicycle safety. We are obviously aware of that too, and we're trying to figure out how to make the bridge improvements on that end. And as you know, the DOT is have plans to improve Amboy Road and Meadow Road, which would include the bridge at Amboy being replaced with a new one. But the timeline of that project's been delayed as well. We're trying, all of us, including the DOT, we're wishing that we weren't in this predicament, and it's very difficult to know that there's going to be 2 very viable greenways on each side of the river with 2 really crappy bridges connecting them. We're trying to figure out how to fix that as quickly as possible, but we don't have any answers yet. The city staff has been looking at possible remedies for the existing bridge. If you measure it out, there is a little bit of wiggle room that we could make a wider sidewalk on one side of the bridge. The travel lanes on the bridge are a little bit wider than they have to be. So we would be robbing square footage from the travel lanes to be able to make one side of the bridge a little bit wider for crossing. But we need to talk with the DOT. They are the ones that own that street and that bridge. So they'll have to be able to give us the blessing to do that. But that's where we are right now. We've just measured it and have figured out that there are possible solutions. It's not perfect, but it's better than what we have now.
And Lucy, on that point, it's amazing to me when someone learns that you've attended one of these meetings. The first question that I feel like everyone has is that bridge. It's like it's on everyone's mind. Is there any benefit to have more folks, raising the question? Like should we post a sign that says, if you're interested in this bridge being, call this person, that kind of thing. Maybe not with the city, but maybe with the state, put some positive pressure to encourage folks to solve this really challenging problem?
I'd say at this time, no. I know that Division 13 is well aware of our concerns with that bridge. They share them with us. The matter is simply that there's no money to be had due to pandemic pains, The DOT is funded primarily on gas tax and new car tax, and people aren't driving or buying cars. So their tax really took a hit on top of a really bad 2019 for them. They had a couple of lawsuits and whatever that left them in a really bad way. So they're trying to get their answers as quickly as possible. Hopefully with the new administration on the federal level and with Pete Buttigieg, I don't even know how to say his name, but I'm thoroughly excited that he's going to be the new transportation secretary if he ends up being it, because I know that he really is very keen on municipal level multimodal transportation. So hopefully we'll be seeing some federal funding that could possibly help our state level projects speed up. So when I say that Amboy Road is on the tip and their slated construction year is 2029, I'm going to say I'm optimistic that that's going to change and that will speed up faster, but I don't have any reason to say that except that I just think we're going to see some more energy or changes on a federal level for transportation. I hope so.
Can I just hop in? I just want to share, and I put it in the chat, the Asheville on Bikes perspective on this is a little less optimistic. Our DOT, the state of North Carolina, has a long history of ignoring active transportation investment. This is an entrenched issue. Because they have mismanaged their resources, they have pulled off a lot of projects that the community has weighed in on and said that they have prioritized. Because of their NCDOT, because of their mismanagement, they've had to create a reprioritization without public input. So public tax dollars, public right-of-way, and a reprioritization that did not involve public input. And again, you can read our letter to the French Broad MPO. I think that it is well worth our efforts to be appealing the desire and the passion and the real need. There is a safety need for improvements and investment in active transportation, particularly at the Amboy Meadow Bridge Road. We all have talked about how cycling usage has gone up and gone up and gone up with the rad tip. And so there's a lot more people who are getting on the roads who don't have that experience. As people who have been interested and curious about riding are now getting on bicycles. And the infrastructure at the terminus at the end is really putting them in a perilous position. So there's a real public need to address the Amboy and Meadow Bridge Road, and our NCDOT has a responsibility to create transportation facilities for all of the modes, something that they historically have not done. And again, if you go to the comment that I left in the link and our website, Asheville on Bikes, we published a letter. We took it to the MPO, and we will be following back up to put pressure on our MPO. Said that the way that DOT is reprioritizing projects is really unfair. And at the soonest opportunity available, when funding comes up, because I think Lucy is correct, with a new administration and a new transportation plan, the dollars are likely to be back there. So we want our MPO representatives to know that the voice of the community has spoken time and time and time and time and time again for active transportation investment. And it's a matter of, is our MPO going to stand up and lead and lean on the NCDOT to build the facilities that are in the public good and the public well-being.
Claudia, you're on mute.
There we go. Sorry. I have written a letter to the MMTC, Multimodal Commission. It was read at the last meeting, and requesting that they talk to the city and to have the city actively put pressure on NCDOT. I would also recommend, like Mike says, you all are perfectly welcome to go to the next multimodal commission. They have public comment. You can make a comment there. And I would encourage people to do that. My letter was I told you, it was asking the city to do more. And it also mentions that because Asheville has the highest death rate and injury rate of pedestrians and bicyclists in the in the state, that it's imperative that the DOT move projects up that improve bicyclist and pedestrian safety. So I think we do need to be actively working on that.
That's actually an item on the agenda today.
Yeah. Lucy, do you have any updates?
Let's see. My update today is on the Greenway Master Plan. The Close the Gap survey.
Mm-hmm. Did you get enough?
Well, I don't know. You can never have enough, right? But I'm going to give this presentation in just a second once I get to sharing the screen again. Feel free to open the link on the side that says presentation if you'd like to see it a little bit more clearly. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so the Greenway, I don't know why I keep saying Greenway, the Close the Gap survey, you can find at this link, ashevillnc.gov/close the gap. And originally it was going to be closed by December 31st, but once we saw some of the results, which I'll talk about in detail in the next slide, we decided to work on some more targeted public engagement and have left it open until January 18th.
Oh, good.
So the following slides are going to show you all of the answers specifically about the Greenway questions on the survey. Since most of you have taken the survey already, you know that many of the questions have to do with a lot of other things that have to do with the GAP work, including sidewalks and accessibility and things like that. So these slides are really only going to talk about the Greenway ones. Let's see. Forgive me there. So far, as of yesterday, we had 1,436 people take the survey.
Good.
Of those, quick breakdown on the demographics is that we have more females responding to it than males, and transgender, and also most of the people are white. There's about 7% of people said they didn't want to say what their race was or what their gender was. And also the middle-aged people, and I know 36-year-olds aren't really middle-aged. So, but the 36 to 45-year-old bracket are the ones that are answering most of the questions, or answering the questions the most.
Can I ask you a question? Is that out of line or for average surveys at the city? Is that representative of the response, the demographics of responses for city surveys and such?
Yeah, Mike, if I had to venture a guess, and with other surveys that I've posted, it is very much in line with what we typically see in responses, right? Yes. So, if you want, I can talk about what we're going to do to target other neighborhoods. We really pushed right before Christmas. We really pushed the media in Asheville that speaks or is responded to by African Americans. We placed an ad and an article in the Urban News. And I was on the Asheville View with Aisha Adams talking about the need to get responses from zip codes other than 28804 and 28806. And I've engaged with the city's public engagement office, whose director right now is Richard White, who's an assistant city manager, but he's the interim director too. And he has let his staff know that they need to be pushing the survey out to the various neighborhoods that are historically Black or Hispanic, to let them know that we're really looking for responses from them. So as of January 6th, that hasn't appeared to help at all yet, but on Monday morning, we'll be having a meeting with CAPE and our consultants, figuring out ways that we can get our public input, the format that we use for public engagement, and that is carrying the survey right now, to specialize some targeted invitations to different parts of the city. So we've, from the get-go, been working with CAPE on reaching out to all the various neighborhoods of Asheville with the survey. We have CAPE work specifically with some African-American neighborhoods and have sent them direct invitations with reasons why we want to hear from them. So I can tell you that we've been working really, really hard ever since we put this out to try to reach all neighborhoods of Asheville, and have sent very targeted invitation to particular neighborhoods. When I've looked at the actual survey itself, we have received some survey responses from the Shiloh neighborhood, from the South Side neighborhood, but in the South Side neighborhood, I would say that we had about 2 from the public housing projects in the South Side neighborhood and a ton from the South French Broad Avenue and the streets that come off of that. It looks like we've had not a bad response from the East End neighborhood, but either they're telling us that they don't want to say what their race is or they're white and live in that neighborhood. So it's been a challenge. I know that there's a lot of problems that a typical African American neighborhood in Asheville is having to face right now. And so probably a survey talking about sidewalks and greenways doesn't pop up as something that they really are dying to do. They've got other problems, but we'll keep trying. And if need be, we could extend the survey. So we're just going to have to just play it by ear, and we're trying to be nimble and as proactive as possible from a city staff position. I have this presentation open right now, so I can't see all of you. So if you want to ask a question, just unmute and ask the question. But I'll continue through these slides and we can talk after that too. This one is showing that from the respondents of the survey, most of the people are using it for exercise and socialization. This question, you could answer more than one. You could click on more than one. So you can see that people are doing various things, but commuting to work and commuting in general and taking your kids to school were on the lower end of the spectrum. And that doesn't surprise me, because until you have a connected greenway system, it's kind of hard to ride a greenway all the way to work.
Can I ask one question? What's the discrepancy between commute and commuting to work?
Yeah, that is a really good question that I don't know if I could clarify. I'll have to ask our consultant what the nuance is on that.
I believe it's like if you get on your bicycle and you go to run an errand. Like if I get on my bicycle and I go get my haircut, I'm commuting to my haircut. If I get on my bicycle and I go to a movie, so it's, good.
Yeah, that's similar to access daily needs and similar to take my kids to school or shop. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wonder whether. Well.
Hey, Lucy, this is Renee. I'm not on the committee. Am I allowed to make a comment?
Sure.
As far as getting input from some of the underserved neighborhoods in Asheville, we've had better luck actually going into the neighborhood and kind of piggybacking on existing events and setting up a table and having posters and then interacting with people and actually asking them to either fill out a paper survey or just use a tablet that we have on site. And that has helped us kind of it's overcome barriers.
There's not been many events from Thanksgiving through the holidays. In fact, the Eddington Center has been closed until next week. And the Grant Center, the pods that people are dropping their kids off and aren't even allowed to walk into the buildings to pick them up. The kids have to come outside. So it's been particularly challenging running the survey through the fall at colder months and during the holidays.
Bike NC, as part of its recent summit, had actually a couple of really powerful and I would say authoritative presentations about diversity of public input. And I'd be happy to share those links. Lucy, I don't know if there's anything directly applicable for this. I think it would be worth everybody watching who participates in those processes.
Great. Sorry about the blurriness of this. I was really hoping I would be able to come back and retype this section. But this section here is actually the key over here. I just blew it up so you can see it better. This is a question asking you how often you use the Greenway, and most people here in the taupe color use it 2 to 3 times a week. 15% of the people use it 2 to 3 times a month. This red here indicates 4 to 6 times a week. So we've got various users. This one is a few times per year. I can't even understand that. Okay, this one is a particularly interesting question for me, is what kind of improvements could be made on the Greenway that will make them better. And the number one answer by a lot was correct drainage. So I've been speaking with our Public Works Department about the areas that chronically have mud puddles and water problems. But I really like this information so that I can share it with the staff in Asheville who will help me make them better. Oh, this was the same slide, and I did type it out.
Much better.
Fine. I did this really quick today. And this one has to do with Asheville Unpaved today. And as you can see, it is overwhelmingly positive. The people who responded to this survey are pretty excited about the idea of using natural surface trails as a supplement to our Greenway network. And that's the last slide I have from the survey.
Could you give some examples of places where there will be on Asheville unpaved trails?
Yeah, so I'm hoping that at our next meeting, I'll give you a presentation on that. But essentially, we're looking at 2 different styles of effort, for lack of a better term right now. One is to take a look at large public lands, mostly city-owned properties, such as the Mountainside Park and the French Broad River West property, the Bacote Ranch property, and then also working with our partners at AB Tech, possibly UNCA, possibly, who have large tracts of lands as well, to do natural surface trails on public lands. And that would look like a system of trails on those properties, mostly multi-use trails for walking and biking, but we're also trying to identify areas that will be good for particular specialized trails like mountain bike trails. And we're still pretty early on in the plan, but I would say that within the next month or so, we'll be ready for public engagement, and we'll have the graphics and information compiled in a way that it'll be easy to communicate the vision of Asheville Unpaved.
Sounds good. Thanks.
And the second direction, so that one, we're calling that one the hubs, those public properties. The other direction that we're going to be taking a look at, which will probably go a little bit slower, are neighborhood trails, which would be trails that would help neighborhoods connect to get through your neighborhood. So I'll give you an example. In my neighborhood, there's a lot of cul-de-sacs in the neighborhood I live in. I live off of Lakeshore Drive, and there's some subdivisions that were built in the late 60s, early 70s that are just one road with a couple of cul-de-sacs, and they back up to other cul-de-sacs from a different subdivision. And there's already neighbors that will allow people to go through their backyard to connect from one cul-de-sac to the other so that people don't have to walk down Lakeshore Drive to get to Beaver Lake. And the idea would be that in neighborhoods like this, if the property owners are willing to give the easements to build those trails, that the Asheville Unpaved group would sponsor the trail, get the trail built so that it is accessible as possible, and then continue the maintenance of them. So the easement would alleviate liability of the property owners, and then the volunteer efforts would keep that trail maintained so that it takes the burden off of the property owners. This is also something that we could take a look at for maybe some of our Greenway corridors. For example, the Beaver Dam corridor, which goes through, I'm going to say a gazillion properties, because I don't know the exact number, but it's a ridiculous amount of private properties. And to be able to acquire the easements needed to get through all these small parcels it's going to take forever and ever and be super expensive. So if that neighborhood group could organize together and the property owners are willing, then we would be able to work on a natural surface trail that could really benefit that neighborhood. But it's just an idea at this point. Any other questions so far? Any ideas? I mean, I'm serious. If you know any way to get this survey out, especially to minority groups, and you think they'll respond to you, please help.
Yeah, it is a little frustrating trying to reach people.
Yeah. So this won't be this is our first wave of public engagement. We will have more in the event that we need to stop on the 18th so that our consultants can continue our work. Then it will be what it is. I feel like we've pushed harder, tried harder, and pushed farther than we ever have before, and hopefully getting people to listen, even if they aren't taking the survey, that maybe they're understanding that this is an important part of our transportation efforts in the city of Asheville. I think that African American neighborhoods are starting to understand that land use and transportation are equity issues, and that they deserve good transportation in their neighborhoods. But if we're unable to receive feedback for whatever reason at this time, then we're going to have to work with what we have.
Public engagement is an incredible challenge right now. Pandemic, the economic fallout of the pandemic, the result of the pandemic, and then issues of systemic racism coming to the forefront of our community. Sometimes it's really hard to connect the dots and make, why is Greenway connectivity or sidewalks a priority?
Yeah.
Well, and for a lot of people who don't use greenways, sometimes I encounter people who don't know what a greenway is. It could be something just in the future to include more images in the survey for people to kind of understand. I don't know. I'm just thinking about, what we use language to talk about transportation and greenways, but not everybody is associating it necessarily because they're only now really developing in Asheville.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Kristen. So we're about to build a greenway in the South Side neighborhood, and I think that's really going to be a game changer. I think that just having something in place in an African American neighborhood will probably alleviate a lot of apprehension about what greenways are, first of all, and let them understand that it is a great amenity in a neighborhood. So I'm really excited about getting the Nasty Branch Greenway in place so that people will understand what we mean when we say greenways. It'll make a big difference.
And when we're able to use, when schools are back, it would be really wonderful to be able to partner some with schools for field trips and so forth. And then those kids in turn go home and, relate the cool thing it was.
Yeah.
So, that's something to definitely tuck in the back pocket.
Yeah.
That will help.
Yeah.
Okay, any more comments, questions? This is some good discussion. So Lucy, you're done, right?
Yep, that's it.
So we'll move into new business. And Lucy and I were talking about how to conduct these meetings, how often to have the meetings. And what might be more helpful is to have some field trips, to actually go out to some of the places where the trails are already done or where we're planning on having them. Because I think if you all get a chance to be on the areas, you will have a little bit better feeling about what's planned. It's always better to actually see something, walk on it, to get an idea of where we are and where we got to go. So what we were thinking is every other month would be a field trip. And then we'd have the opposite month would be an actual meeting like we're doing now. Do you like that idea? Good. Yay. I thought you might. It gives us a chance to get together as well and to share and to ask questions and such. So February, we want to have an actual field trip. If the weather's good for us. And I'm thinking we should go and actually be on the trails that have already been done to make sure that everybody has been on those. We did do a little, let's see, Sunny, you were on, we did a field trip last year where we actually walked on the North Asheville, what was that, the Reed Creek? Greenway, wasn't it? Isn't that Lucy?
It was those new sections at Reed Creek and then the new section at Elsie's Bridge.
Yes, Elsie's Bridge. Right. That was good.
And the rad tip.
I'm sorry?
And the rad tip. We went to.
That's right. We did do rad tip too, didn't we? So it would be good to get us over, if we can, on the west side to make sure everybody knows where that is, that section. But Lucy and I will determine where we're going to be, and then we'll get the notice out to everybody before the meeting and as to how to get together, where we're meeting, and that's such. Okay?
Is there any place that any of you would like to see? We'd love to hear suggestions.
Well, that's true.
This is Dennis. If there's any way, is it possible for us to take a look at the Swannanoa River section? I know we're kind of thinking about things that are existing, but I've had some experience in past groups that I've been a part of. And when you go through those sections, kind of pre-build, it really does give you a sense of the amount of effort it takes. And I think there's a greater sense of gratitude, and also gives you a greater sense of the ability to explain it to people too, to see, there was a creek that came through here. There was 300 old tires that were here, that kind of thing. I think that's helpful kind of for us as a part of this group to have that frame of reference to the whole process.
Yeah, I agree, Dennis. And to be able to see what the connection is that you can't see from the road. So I think that section that we're going to be working on be a very good section to walk from the.
Yeah, we can do it. I'm going to say wear your hiking boots. There's some rough sections. I'm trying
waterproof hiking boots.
You can probably handle it. That it's not that bad, but you'll definitely want your hiking boots and eat your Wheaties in the morning because it will be.
And it'll probably be cold too.
Yeah.
Kind of a similar suggestion request, but Matthew Branch corridor, future corridor. I think there's been tours of it before as part of different events, but I've never had the pleasure of going along it. And now that the South Slope revitalization plans are out, and that's moving along, I think it'd be great to see how it connects to the South Slope too.
Okay.
Good. That's great.
And then I wonder, I think it is best to stick with, projects that are on the slate and everything. But if Bowcatcher is moving in one direction or another, I think similar to the Neighborhood Connection Project, like how to feed into that as across busy roads and corridors that can be created to link neighborhoods to what could be, this great, incredible mountain park. So maybe like an exploratory field trip.
Yeah, that sounds good. For the neighborhood connectors? Yep. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, it's going to be fun.
That's good. Okay. So I did kind of jump ahead earlier about advocating for the river greenways in my letter that I've written. But again, I'd just like to say, when I sat on the MPO, and it's been probably about 5 years now since I was on there, the Smith Bridge came up as one of the projects to be replaced. And that got shot down at the time because there wasn't any connections yet. It's too bad because it would have been nice to have gotten that on sooner. But I really think that maybe Lucy you get the notices, don't you, when the MPOs are meeting? I do too. So maybe we can put out a notice to everybody. And if anyone feels like they'd like to make a public comment, those meetings are usually held at Land of Sky Regional Council, which is out Leicester Highway. Does everybody know where that is?
They're virtual these days. Their meetings.
Oh, okay.
So I can send a link.
Okay, that'd be great.
And you can also email Tristan Winkler, and I'll send you his.
Yeah, send it his email too. That would be good.
Hey, remind me, Claudia, what's the Smith Bridge? I can't remember.
The Smith Bridge is that short little bridge that connects from New Belgium to the Red Tip.
Oh, okay.
Commonly referred to as Craven Street Bridge.
Yeah, is it? They call it Smith Bridge. That's the legal term. But yeah, Craven Street. And that area there, down in there, really looks good these days. All the plants that have been put in those water sections, I really think it looks great. And I've seen a lot of people riding. So the third thing I had under new business was the naming or renaming. I don't know if it's been officially named yet. The east side of the French Broad River Greenway. We have a request from Riverlink that we consider naming it the Wilma Dykeman Greenway, which I think is a great idea.
I have to clarify, Riverlink is excited about this, but I asked them if they would help us with the public engagement.
Good.
So this is something that, the intent of naming this greenway, the Wilma Dykeman Greenway, has been around since the Wilma Dykeman Riverway Plan was created 30 years ago.
While she was still alive.
Still alive, right. So this is an effort to make an official public engagement period and see if we should name the greenway the Wilma Dykeman Greenway. And Renee is here. I see RJ's here too today. Hi, RJ. Yeah. But Renee came to talk about the public engagement process that they use and would use to help us with this engagement.
Great. Renee?
Hi. Yes, so I came into the conversation, I think a little late. I believe, Lucy, you and our executive director, Garrett, kind of started talking about this process of renaming or giving the Greenway a name. And I think Riverlink was invited into the conversation because we have an existing Name That Creek program, and we have experience doing public engagement as part of that program. And but it sounds like the initial idea as to how the city would go about naming this greenway is a little different than how we would name a stream. So from my understanding, is the idea is that because the Wilma Dykeman Greenway or Riverway name has been talked about or has been the idea for the past 30 years, that rather than asking the community for potential names, that name would be proposed by the city, and then the community input would be yes or no. Do you think we should name the greenway this? Is that correct, Lucy?
I think we should just keep it simple. Leave it, it's a yes/no question, and then if it's no, do you have a suggestion for another name? But one of the things that complicates this is that this greenway will follow the French Broad River all the way to the county line and beyond. And the county has plans for a greenway along the French Broad River past what the town of Woodfin is already working on. So there's 3 governments that would need to understand that we're talking about this. I spoke with the town manager of Woodfin today, and he is thrilled that we're starting to take a look at this right now. It's perfect timing for their section of the greenway that goes through Woodfin and will begin at the corner of Riverside Drive and Broadway, where we stopped the North Rad Tip project. So it's something that their council, their board of aldermen would need to approve. I am unclear at this time whether our council needs to approve a name change or a naming of this greenway. We don't really have a name for it yet. So for an example, Nasty Branch was changed without a council approval because it's not an existing facility yet. So we didn't need approval. I would imagine that they would want to, just for pomp and circumstance, to bring it to council and approve it, but I'm not sure yet. But the public engagement would be the first step.
And I really think people will propose other names. So then what would you do with the name proposals? Would it be that if over 50% of the people said yes, then you would opt to go with the Wilma Dykeman Greenway? Or if it was less than a certain percentage, yes, then you would we'd create a new poll and it would include the other name suggestions.
Sounds good.
I mean, just details that we would need to work out, and you'd want to lay some ground rules for what's an appropriate name.
Yes, I agree.
Renee, would there be communication distributed with that educated folks about who Wilma Dykeman was? Because there's so many people new to town, and people could be forgiven for not knowing who have lived here a long time. But otherwise you might just make some snap judgments without that education.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there has to be some background to why the city is proposing the Wilma Dykeman Riverway.
Well, do we need to vote on this, Lucy?
Yeah, I would suggest a motion and a vote.
I'd like to make that motion.
Okay.
Clarify, ex officios do not vote, correct?
That's correct. I need a second.
I'll second, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis. And all in favor, say aye. Or raise your right hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great.
Can we, just for the minutes, can we define the termini of that section that we're suggesting the name for?
It would be from Amboy Road to River Broadway, right, Lucy?
Right.
I was also wondering how other greenways have been named. They all seem to be place-based or based on the stream they're near.
That's correct.
Yeah.
The Greenway Master Plan had named all of the greenways according to the natural feature. And
except I think Bacote was named after the family.
That's
true.
The
Clingman Avenue.
Clingman Forest.
Clingman Forest, right.
And they changed the name because Clingman was a slave owner, so they changed it to Bacote Branch. But it is named after the creek that goes through.
It is the Bacote Creek.
The issue with the east bank of the French Broad River is that we already have a French Broad River Greenway on the west side of the river.
Yes. And you want to distinguish one from the other. I think that's very helpful. Okay.
This is a really exciting opportunity, particularly when we talk about the existing right-of-way and the push to rename them for valid reasons. And we're naming right-of-way, active transportation right-of-way. It's a great juxtaposition.
It is very exciting. And it's very exciting to honor Wilma Dykeman, because she's done so much for the river, made so many people aware of the issues of the river. Okay, so
just for housekeeping,
yes, ma'am.
Richie, were you the one that made the motion?
Yes.
And who seconded it?
Dennis.
Dennis.
Okay. And was the name Wilma Dykeman Greenway, or I heard Waterway also?
Riverway.
Riverway.
Maybe it should be Greenway, since the Wilma Dykeman Riverway technically refers to the entire length of the French Broad River from, I don't know, is it Woodfin to the Swannanoa? I mean, it's a much longer stretch.
And
of
it
Greenway.
includes waterway, the waters, as well as the land. So I think Greenway would probably be good.
In the county plan, the Wilma Dykeman Greenway is the French Broad and Swannanoa within the city limits.
Oh, I think that was in the original plan. from Riverbank too.
I'm not sure about that. I just know that in the county plan that it was named the Wilma Dykeman.
Yeah.
Lucy, do you have a timeline?
Well, we're planning on having a formal opening of the Greenway starting on Earth Day this spring and lasting a month, presuming that we're still going to be under some kind of constraints for public engagement in the springtime. We're making it something that you can self-navigate and leaving it open, continuing the celebration for a month long.
It'd be great to have it decided by then.
Right. It would be nice to have it decided by the opening. It would be nice to have it decided quick enough to make a sign, maybe. And also, Wilma Dykeman's 100th birthday will be this year.
Yes.
And it would fall within that month-long celebration. So it would be very nice to roll out the name at that time.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If we didn't do public engagement on all the other names, why are we needing to do it on this name? Because it was East and we're changing it?
Right. Somebody has to bring it up. It seems like the Greenway Committee is the best entity to do that. And plus, we do need to be engaging with other government agencies.
Would this also then need to go up to multimodal?
Right.
Yes.
So for the Name That Creek projects that we do, once we have a name that has won the popular vote, then we get a resolution signed by City Council and Buncombe County, if the stream is in Buncombe County, that approves the name and makes it official.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's how you would want to do this as well.
Yes, I would see us taking it to council and also Woodfin taking it to their aldermen. I talked with our county Greenway people and they, I think I'm going to need to readdress it with them because I don't think they realize that the Greenway goes beyond Woodfin. On their plan, it goes all the way to the Madison County line. So, but at the time when I asked them, they just said, well, you really need to be talking to the town of Woodfin, not us. So I'll talk to them again.
Okay. Any other comments, questions?
So I guess, Lucy, will I just follow up with you after the meeting on how to get the ball rolling?
Yeah, thanks.
All right, great. All right, well, I have to run. Hope you all have a great evening.
Thank you, Renee. We appreciate you coming.
You bet.
And let's now have our Greenway Committee updates from our ex officio members. Mike, you've already sort of updated us, but if you want to, is there anything else you need to do? You're muted.
Yeah. So, I did direct you to I shared with you our newest event, the Urban Scrawl, which is in our events at AshevilleOnBikes.com. And I also shared with you our public comment to the French Broad Metropolitan Planning Organization regarding the NCDOT's reprioritization through their fiscal mismanagement. And we do have up on our website as well the Close the Gap survey. We are promoting that. There's also the McDowell Biltmore corridor study that's going on, and what Asheville on Bikes has published a survey guide. We have an opinion on that corridor and how it should be reallocated for the safe movement of people. We are saying that Biltmore Avenue should incorporate a complete street treatment because it is the north-south connection. And we're saying that McDowell should carry the heavier circular load, but we are making it very clear that McDowell Street has critical east-west connections. So it's critical that those intersections of McDowell running east to west have complete street movements moving. So we provided survey guidance for people, and that is on our website again at ashlandbikes.com. In February, we will also be hosting the Bicycle Film Festival, and there will be more on that later, but that's just a little preview. So have it.
Great.
Thank you.
Yes. Kenny, do you want to update us on multimodal?
I don't think Kenny's here anymore. Dennis, do you?
How about Dennis?
Or Lydia?
Yeah, we got several people.
I did not prepare. I know that Claudia's letter was read in its entirety and well received. There were a couple of other items that came up, but unfortunately, I don't have that information in front of me right now.
It was a rather uneventful meeting, except as I remember it.
Okay. Chris, how about you?
Yeah, I don't have anything new to update.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. I guess that's everybody.
Could I ask Chris, just because you are involved in the Hellbender Trail work, is there any update on Hellbender, where that's going, what the next steps are? Because I think something was approved out of its starting committee with the MPO, correct?
Yeah. But that's about as much as I know. I think that Julie is rolling off of that now that she's on the state Senate and won't be as available.
Oh.
And we haven't finalized whether or not I'm going to pick up the slack on that, but I'm assuming that I'll be the one to fill that role for her.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I hope so. I think it'd be great.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, yeah.
The way I understand it is that each community is working on their own part, right?
That's been my understanding, and it's just Land to Sky kind of coordinating the connecting pieces.
Right. Okay. So I don't think Mike is with us. Mike Z, is he?
No.
We don't have anything from the Aesthetics Committee. Oh, my update. I had a meeting on the phone with Ann Babcock. Do all of you know who Ann is? Okay. Ann sits on the state committee for, what was that one? Lucy, do you remember? Parks and Rec? Parks?
Yeah, Park and Recreation Trust Fund.
Yes. And she's also on the county Parks and Rec and Greenways Committee. And Ann and I were both involved with forming Connect Buncombe. So we have a history there. And I called her up to talk to her about possibilities of everything. the renaming of the east side of the river, and she was just really excited to see that there is a desire to do that. And she's willing to, I told her about my letter, and she's willing to work towards, from the state level, to try to push DOT also on being clear about how they're prioritizing the projects and really pushing for greenways and pedestrian access. So that was exciting to have somebody that really who has some connections on the state level to be working with us.
Right.
So that's all I have.
Claudia, on that same effort, you might want to reach out to, and I'm happy to help make the connection to, Terry Lansdale at Bike Walk NC.
Yes.
Maybe coordinate that effort.
That's a good idea. Okay, I'll make a note of that.
All right, so next month on February, I think it's the 4th, February 4th.
I'll tell you in a minute here.
We'll plan on having a field trip. It will most likely be either Swannanoa, Menifee Branch, or Bowcatcher. We'll let you know before and I'll send out a meeting invite with where we'll meet, the logistics, things like that.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Thanks, Amy Tessner.
Bye.
Yes, thank you, Amy.